Hi everybody, it's Eddie here at Eddie Makes Art. Thanks for joining me today. And today I'm going to introduce you to one of my newest designs. This is called Sweet Crescents. And as you can see, I've got two different ones. Why? Because one is a mask version. So you get this really beautiful design with an organic border going all around. And then there is the standard one with the border on it. And you can also purchase them as a combo. So you don't have to get one and one, you can get them, together in a combo, and they both come in the 9x12 size. So that's available at pmartiststudio.com. All links below in the description box. So let's get started and make some prints. Today I'm using my 12x14 plate with that white paper underneath, so you can see what's going on, and also it keeps me in sort of a guideline, because most of the prints I'm going to pull are with the 8.5x11 hammer mill paper. So let's get started. I'm going to start off with a black and get rid of that nugget. Gotta make sure the camera's rolling. I did some videoing the other day. Luckily, it wasn't anything too crazy, but I looked up and my camera was off. I thought I had pressed record, and I had not. So, there you go. Good times, right? All right. Now, I'm not doing a long haul. I'm just going to do different prints. For a little spatula, I think I moved them. Let's just use this one. Just to lift. Make sure you lift gently, especially when you're using a brand new Yupo stencil, because these more delicate areas will pop if you just yank the print off the plate, or the stencil off the plate, rather. So, I'm gonna lay my paper down. I've got all the edges covered. You might be thinking, why are you pulling that right away? It's going to have white areas, and that's okay. Don't mind that, because then I can come in and I can go over it with, I can use some like spray inks to color it in if I want, or leave it black and white if I want. We're just gonna play around today. Where's my Baron? Here we go. If you've never seen me use one of these before, this is a wooden Baron, and it's made by Anthony Cody. All his information is in the description box as well. And this is a hand-turned or turned maple wood that is fashioned into this Baron, which allows me to burnish the paper without constantly using my hands, because that can affect your skin and stuff. And it's also good if you have hand issues, mobility issues. It's good for that. It relieves pressure. Look at that. See, that's right, because you know what? I did the black is because the black is so, that's such a graphic stencil. I don't know, I just feel like it looks really good in the black. So with something like this, I can come in with sprays and stuff, and I can do like different colors if I wanted to, or just leave it like that. That's one. Gonna put my stencil back down. Now, some of this black paint is still wet, and that is okay. Maybe instead of moving the plate, Eddie, why don't you line up the stencil better? There we go. So while we've got the black on there, I'm gonna go ahead and do another kind of print. Let's do this one with, we'll start with some Prussian blue. And don't forget, I want to make sure you get out to the edges there. I use the smaller brayer because I've learned from Patricia at PM Artist Studio that getting into the nooks and crannies of these more intricate designs, it's best to use a smaller brayer than your larger one. All right, so now I will lift this one, but I'm gonna let this dry. And then I will lay another color on top of that. And if I had done a little better job of putting down my paint, I could have gotten better detail in here. But that's more user error and just, you know, trying to go quickly. So I like that. I'm gonna let that dry. I'll come back and we'll go put another color on there. Again, line it up as best I can. Okay, so we did the blue, we did the black. And let's do another similar one. Where we leave it to dry and we'll layer it up. I'm gonna go with this phthalo blue. Do some of that. I'm gonna dot it around, put it in a couple different areas. Then also, también, let's put in some of this lighter blue. It says ocean green. It's kind of a light blue. But, you know, everybody's got their way. Got a little something in there, I know that. Make sure we get that out, a little chunky bit. All right. You know, and I've just de-inkified my hands from all that painty paper business I did on my previous videos. I can't help it, I was covered in paint. So this is sort of an ombre, but not really, because we put the paint in a few different spots, you know. But try not, you don't want to over mix it. Keep it mottled. Trying to create some cool brayer offs in the process here. Pretty good so far. Oh, I need this here. Now there's enough paint on here where I can do a flop off. So what is a flop off? Move this and I'll show you. So a flop off is when you take a stencil that's covered in paint, wet paint preferably, lay it down on some paper. I'm gonna use this piece of Gelli paper over this, and I'm gonna just quickly brayer over that and transfer that paint to the paper. And we gotta be quick because it's a pretty new stencil and I don't want to leave it long enough where it's gonna stick, but look at that. Now that's a flop off. Right there. So when you have enough paint on the stencil that's left over and you wanna do this, you'll have much better luck. if the paint's already started to dry, be very careful because it can easily stick to the paper, the stencil, I mean. And then you just have to soak it and wait for the paper to fall off. It won't ruin your stencil, but it will ruin your process if you're, you know, that you're gel printing. There's still some paint left on here. If we can get anything off of there, just so it's not going into the other prints right now. See? Still plenty of paint on there. Look, even got a cool one here. All right. Now the first plate. Let's get back to this because this blue dries rather quickly, as most blue paints tend to do. Something about the blue pigments that causes them to dry a lot quicker. Let me see if I can get my paper lined up here. I think that's good. All right, so we have our first layer here. Now we're gonna think about what color do we want to put behind it to pull the print. We can pull the print, or we can do another layer, let that dry, and then do a final print. So I think for this, I'm gonna choose I'm gonna go with this fluid acrylic and the gold green. I pulled out my friend Paula Keen's stamp. This one is called African Mud Cloth, and it is part of a collection. You can get it also as stencils. So we'll use that to pull out any, to pull off paint. Okay, so let's see. Hopefully this will work. Hopefully it's not too fluidy, but we'll give it a go. This is how we learn. And it's a fluid paint, so it's probably going to craze a little bit, but I think we can get some good marks with the stamp, and that'll create some cool texture in the background. And come in here and do that. See, that's good. Maybe stamp off on my brayer off here so we get a cool thing going on. And if you've never used foam stamps with acrylic paints before, it's possible. You can see I'm doing it, but I do have to let you know that you want to wash them immediately, or at least put them in some water to remove the paint, or not allow the paint to dry on the stamp, because it can. Acrylic paint is basically a polymer, a plastic, and it will dry on the surface of the stamp, which will make it null and void when you go to use it with regular inks, meaning the foam will no longer accept any ink. And that will kind of defeat the purpose. Now, I think some of that blue is coming up. You can see, because it's the paint was, the green paint is starting to dry as well. And so that will cause everything to stick. So I'm gonna let this dry and wash my stamp, but I think this is gonna be a cool print. Good combo there. It's hard to see now, but once we get a final layer on there, it's going to look great. All right, this one is almost dry. So let's think about a color with which to pull this with. So I think a metallic would be wonderful here. Or I'm gonna go totally crazy. Nope, oops, he pulled some up, so gonna let that rest for another few minutes. But I have an idea for that one. Let's see. See, this one has like those gold bits that were left over from the last print. Beautiful modeling of the blues. I'm gonna have to let these two dry, so I'm gonna wait and I'll come back. All right, so this one I think I'm just gonna pull with this orange, metallic burnt orange. Should be enough. And that should really make the design pop out and complement the blues really well. Let's get that down. I need some paper to pick up the paint. Let's do that. And the weather's gotten really cold in the last hour or so, and it's dropped from like 30 degrees to 18 in about 2 hours. So everything is like cold. Mind you, like I don't keep the heat on like constantly throughout the day, otherwise I'd be like roasted. So I had the heat off for a while. And then just turned it back on about 2 hours ago. But you know. It's cold. Sometimes will wreak havoc with your supplies. I think that's good. It looks like we got all the edges covered. I just thought there was an air bubble in there. All right, let's take a look. Oh yeah. That's gonna be pretty sweet, especially like I said with the leftover bits that are in gold there. That'll be really cool. All right, this other one should be dry. And I think for this one, I'm gonna pull it with the transparent red iron oxide. This guy here from Golden Fluid Acrylics. Get my paper ready. There you go. Sure I get my edges good. Okay. Let's get some Gelli paper. love this. Look at that. Let's see if I can get it from here. Not much. It's pretty dry. That dries fast, the fluid acrylic. I've been trying not to use too much because sometimes I go overboard with the fluid and then it's just too much. Oops, I apologize. But look at that. Look at what it did to that green. That's what I wanted it to do. It oranged out that green in the most spectacular way. And you can still see the texture from those, from the stamp, where we pulled off that extra paint. All right, is my 9x12 available? Well, look at here. It's got some crackle on it and everything. Little stuff to play with. So let's get my mask back out. Oops, this little trinket there. Don't want you. Let's put this down. Now, let's use some black tissue for the next one, which means I want to do some stuff with some shiny paints. Now, the pearl paints work great on darker papers and darker surfaces. So let's pull that out. We have here. We'll do some blue. I'm gonna mix the blue. Oops. Kind of dot it around like I did with that other blue print. Come on. Fingers ain't working well today either. They've been cramping up. And should I mix the green or the yellow and the blue? Do the red and the blue, blue and the purple. Let's do the green. Blue, green. Comes with this great little storage box I keep them in. So I'm just weird that way, but there you go. Now this is pulling paint off of here. No. That's the little marks you've seen that were already on the plate. Sure, I am in all the bits and pieces here. So here's what I'm gonna do. First, I'm gonna do this layer. I'm gonna lift up my stencil. Getting here, these little details are always getting missed. Okay. Get my stencil up. And I'm gonna flop off onto another plate. No, there's paint on that one. This has some grunge on it too. It's our lucky day. A little off, but no worries. Okay, and this is called a flop off onto a gel plate. So we have that there. So that'll be wonderful. And this will, oops, you see, hopefully you can see that in the camera. So that's a great base to begin with. Plate maneuvering over here. And This will be great. So now with this, what I'll probably do is pull it with another metallic and I'll pull it onto the black tissue paper. So that has to dry. And let's see how we're doing here. All right, so these are gonna have to dry. I got a few more things, or you know, with these other plates, I'm gonna let everything dry and then I'll be back. Okay, so this is the one with the first one we did with the Prussian blue, the fluid green gold, the stamp, and then we pulled it with the transparent red iron oxide. Crack my edges because this one is going to be a little rough, but I think most of it's going to come up. And that's what I meant when I said I didn't get I was trying to get out to the edges. It's not enough paint, but I'm okay with that. Just look at that. Look at that gorgeous print. I mean, you get, if you look close enough, you get hints of the green, but the impact of the yellow of the trans red oxide with that, it's just so beautiful. And even some of the paint that it pulled up created some really cool stuff going on there. Lovely. Lovely. Okay. Let's do an alizarin crimson. And may look like a lot of paint, but you'll see why you need it. That was the alizarin crimson from Lucas Krill, if you keep track of that sort of thing. Okay. A little overboard there, overboarder. So I'm putting my paint, my stencil paint down, try to keep one side as clean as I can. Because if I want the plate to stick better to the stencil, if I'm putting paint over it, it's better when you have one side that has less paint on it. That's what I'm trying to say here. Sprayer off coming along nicely. All right, so I'm gonna take some wet strength tissue. Lay this down over, and we're gonna pull the paint through. Do a little bit of that, and I need a paper towel. Otherwise, my hands are gonna get all red. And so use your paper towel and smooth over the tissue, and it avoids your hands from getting all painty, but it also helps get into the grooves here, get into all the nooks and crannies. It helps you really get down in there. Seems to me it's very dry in here. The paint is drying very quickly on me. Now, if I do want to combat that, if I want to work with the paint longer, I can certainly add a extender or an acrylic retarder to the paint, which extends the play time, or use an open paint, which I only have two. Which is a golden acrylic that has an additive in the paint that keeps it wet longer. All right, so I get this part up. Don't stick, you're not supposed to stick. Get a little, where's this wet strength tissue? Sometimes I think my tissues get mixed up. This might be something else. Anyway. Let me be a little more careful here. I wonder if this may be tea bag paper. It's just why I'm having issues here with it sticking like this, because the wet strength doesn't stick like this. This could be something totally different that I can't remember what. As you see here, and get rid of that there. Well, we got something to work with here. For that raggedy edge there. All right, and so what we have here, what's left, should be the, not much underneath, because look, comes up on the stencil. That's what I was saying, the paint dried very quickly. So this was probably a great time to use the extender or the retarder in my paint. So now we know. And I don't know if I'll get a flop off that. Not really. It's kind of cool looking though, because it's got that pearl paint right underneath it. All right, so let me let this continue to dry. I mean, that's pretty dry, but I'm gonna pull that up. Let's make it even. Yeah, I'm just gonna let any little details dry in here. We can come back to that. All right, so no, that wasn't a 100% success. Welcome to the world of gel printing. Go with the flow. Okay, so this is the blue with the burnt orange metallic as the pull color. This one should be pretty interesting. So far, so good. Look at that. That is so cool. That came out great. It's got the right amount of grunge. It's got some sparkle. Very cool. Look at that. That is so good. Makes a great journal page. How awesome. I love that. Oh, here, this is what I want to do. Let's do that with the black, what we did with the red, the alizarin crimson. I'm going to put a little more paint there. A little extra. Yep. This should work a lot better. A lot more paint. Down. I'm gonna go carnival tissue. This is definitely carnival. It's kind of on the smaller side, but that's okay. Gotta use what I've got, right? Edges up quickly. I think we're good. I think we're good. And there's enough. I can pull another print if I want to. So let's do it. Just use this one. So what I'm trying to do is get the paint up so that what's left when I lift the stencil is the positive of the stencil, so the lines. That is what I'm trying to do. This seems to have worked. Wonderful. Let me get this stencil up. Nice. That's what I was looking for. Got a little lost there, but overall, I am very happy with that. And I need to brayer this off. Too dirty. Not dirty, but it's got paint. All right, and while I am thinking about it, I'm gonna go ahead and get a baby wipe, and I'm gonna get into some of these edges here and try and clean them up as best as I can. All right, I'm gonna let that dry, and let's take a peek at our other stuff. Oh, so we have this one. So this is the one that had the flop off of the pearl paint. I'm gonna switch my brayers because there's some wet paint, black paint still on that one. So I don't want to get it on here. So with this one, we can pull it with a black tissue to get that really cool effect. But let's also pull it with some fabulous metallic. And because we have, it's green and blue. Let's just pull it with gold and see what happens. This is the metallic yellow gold, I believe. Yes, Liquitex. Lovely. Put this black tissue down. And again, it's an artist tissue, so it's got some strength to it. However, oops, it's not a wet strength tissue, so you gotta handle it accordingly. And this is going to dry on the plate. Like, I mean, fully. You see the paint's coming through, and that's okay. But that's why we use the paper towel. And see, I always forget. That's gonna be really fun. Very gold, but very fun. There, now we have this one. And this was the one where we had the stencil down and then we put the paint over. Nice brayer off. I think this can be retired. Wonder how this will look. This is the blue-black iridescent Babeo. Let's give this a try. You never know, right? And half the time when I get on here with you guys, I'm experimenting. So keep that in mind. This is all an experiment because, you know, gotta always try new stuff, different combos of things. And I'd rather try them with you on camera, and then we can all learn in the process. All right, do my best to lay this down. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. Just needs a little clean up on the edges. It's golden. This 9x12, it's stretched out just a little bit from use, but that, you know, that happens. It doesn't affect the performance of the plate whatsoever. You say blue black, why? Yeah, but don't forget it's an iridescent paint, so it's based on how you look at it, what you put it on. That's why I like to use it with the black tissue. Let's see. See, oh yeah. That's pretty wild. That's gonna be super good. This is the mud cloth stencil, one of them. It comes in a couple of different variations. So let's do that, and coincidentally, it is red as well. So let's see here. Try to line it up as best I can. Give it a little rubby, or you can go over it with your brayer. Make sure it stays down on the plate for you. Let's do this. This is Indian Yellow, and it's actually one of the open paints that I own, one of two. Let's do this, because this would be a good time to use something that's going to stay open a little bit longer, because we've got all these nooks and crannies to fill in. Flop off the stencil onto some paper. Give herself an extra print. And again, this particular design is by fellow designer Paula Keene over at the PM Artist Studio. Beautiful. Let's see what it looks like from what we're actually going to see. So we're going to see that. So we need a nice impactful color to pull it with to get that really good thing going. But it pairs really well. All right, that's going to have to dry for a while. Those are slow drying paints. I'm going to get this stencil down here. I'll do a print with this. Where is my? There we go. Looking for my. What do you call this? The deli paper. Words are hard today. Take a gander. Oh yeah. Just gonna do a little last second going over. Now this stencil's had a couple layers of paint, so the paper should not stick. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, let's let that dry. I love when that happens. The brayer release that has the pattern still on it. Brayering it out. Okay, so here is the one black outline. So for this one, let's think about it for a moment. I'm gonna pull this one with purple. I like this metallic purple. Simple print, but I think it's going to be extra beautiful. still a little bit wet from the that open paint, so we'll go to this one here. Need another one of those. Go over it with my Baron. Where are you? You are hiding. Got an issue down here. This has been happening to me lately. The paper's been doing this thing, and I don't know what's going on. That's something I gotta figure out. Doing this whole wrinkly business. Sometimes running the Baron over it works, but this one's kind of gone, so I'm just gonna let it be. I don't want to tear the paper. Very strange. Very strange, but look at that. That's gonna be so cool. And see, that's the other thing though, is I didn't get far up enough with the paper, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3. We got some prints drying, so I'm gonna wait for everything to dry, and then I'll continue. All right, so I've decided that for this particular one, I'm gonna use my unbleached titanium to pull the print, because I really want these colors and patterns to show up. So I'm not gonna go wild. I was gonna do something with a metallic, but I'm gonna keep it not metallic. I think that'll be, I'm hoping this will be a much nicer print with just the unbleached titanium. So here we go. And let's hope it's not too much, but I do have 2 layers of paint there. It's not super thick. So I may take some of this off. Put some here on my smaller plate. That will help. Just want to make sure there's enough on my edges. There's enough there. Sometimes these little corners like to be buggers, so we've got to make sure they're all covered in paint. My Baron, here we go. I was going to use the fluid acrylic version of this unbleached titanium, but I noticed that the one I have is almost gone, so I might as well use that one up, the regular one from Liquitex. Other prints are dried, so I can go ahead and pull those after I set this aside. And this will be the last one. So let's see how that is going to look. Well, you stay there. Yes, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Okay, that's gonna be fantastic. I will look at the first one here that was on black tissue. Look at that, it's come through. This is the one that I pulled with the iridescent blue black from Papeo. So I'm trying to make sure my edges are cracked, and gonna take my time because again, this is just regular artist tissue. It's not a wet strength tissue. So it's gonna have more of a tendency to rip if you are aggressive with it. See, this one's already ripping, so I'm gonna take my time. One of those marks that were left behind of the plate are coming up too. Lovely. That blue black looks so good on the black paper. It becomes this really beautiful shade of blue. Now, that's some good stuff there. That is some beautiful stuff. Love that. Okay, let me get you to the side. We have the other one that we did with black tissue. And this is the one we pulled with the gold, as you can see, because it came through. Because I put a lot down, but it's okay. And I'll have to admit, this gold overpowered what we put down on the plate, but also what we put down on the plate was the flop off from the stencil, so it wasn't going to be an intense layer of color, you know. So this could be a good candidate for adding another layer to in the future. And it left behind some cool marks for us. Oh, don't rip, you little bugger. There we go. Nice. So, you know, it's kind of subtle, very subtle. You know, something there. But like I said, this would be a great print to come back with another design if we wanted to, and lay down another layer of paint to further enhance it. But this is why we play around to see what works and what doesn't. So now I know with those pearl paints, the gold metallic was a bad idea to pull if I wanted it to stand out, you know, because like here, it stood out. All right, so that's super fantastic. Then there is the one we pulled with the purple metallic that kind of wrinkled up on us. So let's see how much damage that caused. Not to the plate, I mean to the print. Doesn't look like it's gonna be too bad. It's doing what I thought it was gonna do, which was kind of interrupt the design. But it's interesting. Yeah, see all that left behind. But it kind of goes, right? A little bit grungy, kind of worn looking. But I love it. That purple is really fantastic. Very cool. Okay, I'll come back when that other one is done. All right, so this is finally dry. Didn't take too long, but I wanted to make sure it was fully dry before I went at it. And I'm so happy this one did not wrinkle or crinkle on me. I don't know what that was about on the other ones. But, you know. All right. Look at that. I love this choice I made. I'm glad I did not go with anything else because I really love how this turned out. And this is just the paint that was already on the plate that's coming up. That's, you know, you can kind of just trim that. It doesn't bother me. That's fantastic. Look at how cool that is. And these two designs, they work really well together. And just a reminder, that is the African Mudcloth stencil, and this is by Paula Keene over at PM Artist Studio. So she's a fellow designer, and she has this, and then remember we used the stamp as well. And most importantly is my new mask, and also this is stencil, Sweet Crescents. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. I had a lot of fun making these prints. Nothing too complicated. I did a basic black one that I can come in with sprays and color it in and make it really cool. This is a flop off from the stencil onto paper. And so I got another great print, kind of the reverse of this one, to do the same thing with sprays and stuff. And then this fabulous one that we pulled with that burnt orange metallic from Liquitex. Love it. And all the gold bits that were left on the plate. And this is the one we put down with this. It looks black, but this is Prussian blue. And then what we did was I laid down the layer of the gold green fluid acrylic and used the foam stamp to pull out the details there to create some texture. And then I went completely bold and I pulled it with transparent red iron oxide. That's why the Prussian's darker. It looks almost black. That's why the green is not so prominent, but when you look closely, and I'll photograph these so you can see them close up, you can still see the green and the design of the stamp. So happy with that one. And this was that crinkled one that we pulled with the purple, but I really like it. I love this purple paint. I think this turned out very nice. And this wonderful one we did on black tissue. We did both of these on black tissue. So this one we did with the stencil and play, and we went over it with the pearl paints, the Amsterdam pearl paints, and pulled it with the Pebeo iridescent blue-black to get this wonderful print. And then we did the flop off of the stencil onto another plate, and I pulled it with gold, and we talked about that, what I thought about that, but this has a lot of good possibilities. And then we have, this was from the print I pulled with the black, and this was the first pull in this extra paint, so pulled it again. And then this was the one from this print here that I pulled the paint through. Remember, the paint was drying fast. But I got some great papers to play with. I got some really beautiful prints that I think are just awesome as they are. So it's been a very productive session today. So thanks a lot for joining me today. I'll see you very soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.